So back in 2020, I, Steven Shinder, started a podcast called Delayed Replay, recapping and reviewing the latest films. However, it got broadcast into an alternate universe, where those films got delayed and came out differently from how I was describing them. Because of how me and my guests had been describing the films, people in that other universe were saying that this was all an improvised comedy podcast, which, listening back, I can totally get why they believed that. A lot of weird stuff happened in that first year, and I even met my other self from that other universe, who pops in from time to time, for better or worse. And now, in the year 2023, this podcast continues, still recapping and reviewing movies and sometimes some other things that got delayed or cancelled in that other universe. A new episode Saturdays every other week, unless I decide otherwise for some special reason or whatever. You are listening to Delayed Replay, Season 4.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe but came out on time in our universe. I'm your host, as always, Steven Shinder, and we're recapping Haunted Mansion, which came out in March for us. I know, kind of lagging it, but hey, delays in the title, so it provides some leeway. Joining me once again, it's been a while.
I think it's been a year.
Yeah, I think it was on the Quiet Place Part 3D episode or whatever it was, but yeah, it's Andres. How's it going, dude?
It's going absolutely wonderful, Steven. The life that we've had since then has changed drastically, so it's wonderful to be back.
Yeah, it's wild that it's been 3 years since this podcast started, and a year since that last episode we were both on.
I know. I'm impressed by your resilience to keep reviewing movies that have been delayed.
Yeah, like despite how big or small the audience might be.
That's right. That's right.
Right. So yeah, this is Haunted Mansion. They took away the in the title to sort of separate it from the 2003 film that had the in the title, so just so people aren't very confused.
Listen, I was disappointed by the fact that Eddie Murphy is not the lead again. I was super disappointed.
Right, but he does have a cameo, which we'll talk about as we get into it. um yeah, so I guess to start off, like, what's your history with anything Haunted Mansion media?
Haunted Mansion Media. So I am a advocate for the defense of the Haunted Mansion at New Orleans. I will fight to the death of anyone who dares wants to update the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland in California. I'm a big nerd for it. I know the history of the lore of the Haunted Mansion pretty well. I can tell you a lot about Constance Hatchaway, the owner and murderer of the Haunted Mansion. I know the owner of the mansion. I know his younger brother. Oh, the things I can tell you, Steven, about the Haunted Mansion. The lore drops I got for you. I'm ready. I'm ready.
Nice. Yeah, I don't remember which Disneyland trip was my first time at the Haunted Mansion, because the first time I ever went to Disneyland was in 2002 when I was like 7 or 8 or something. But I remember seeing the 2003 Haunted Mansion movie in the theater with my mom, and the next few times going to Disneyland, I've only been to Disneyland 5 times in my life, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not like some of those other people we knew back in our school who go like 50 times a year or whatever.
Listen, I was never a 50 times a year guy, but I did have a pass for many years of my life. So,
Right.
because I live 30 minutes away, so I'd go quite often growing up.
Right. But yeah, the Haunted Mansion ride is really cool. It's got a nice, eerie, spooky vibe, the ghostly part, like the spinning chair thing. Like, it's really cool.
If you've been keeping track of Steven's podcast, I'm here only for haunted episodes over. ever. So I can tell you something that this ride is definitely in my top three at Disneyland for sure.
Where are the other two?
Indiana Jones and the Jungle Cruise.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, those are my top three. And then number four, Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, okay. What's number five?
Number five, I would probably have to say is either Space Mountain or Star Tours.
Okay. Yeah, there are a bunch of rides, and there have been several movies based on the rides, and there are like connections in this movie, but yeah, like as far as Haunted Mansion media, I've also seen Muppets Haunted Mansion on Disney Plus when that came out. Have you seen that one?
Excellent film. I've watched bits and pieces, but I feel like I've seen it all, you know.
Yeah, because once you've seen Muppets once, you've seen them all. They're like so homogenous,
That's
right? No
I
creative.
I
I'm kidding. I'm
actually
kidding.
I was a diehard fan, and you can quote me on this, Stephen, for years to come. I was a diehard fan of the Muppets Office spinoff.
Oh, I
Uh,
loved that one.
okay, a fellow fan of the Office Muppets. It was incredible, incredible.
Yeah, it's weird because Frank Oz thinks that that one felt like it was trying to be too much like adult shows, like those types of
Right.
sitcoms, and he also thought that the recent, well, I say recent, but it was in the early 2010s. Gosh, the Muppets 2011 film or whatever, and its sequel. He thought
Oh
that
yeah.
those were too sweet and kitty, maybe. I think I'll have to find the quote, but he kind of felt like those were like on two opposite ends of the spectrum and not quite in the middle where the Muppets should be, which I didn't really have a problem with either of those. But then again, I also love Muppets and space. That was my entry into the Muppets. Well, love might be a strong
I
word, but I enjoyed it.
Well, I as a kid had the VHS of the first Muppet movie. And I used to replay that all the time. And I still watch it on Disney Plus quite often. And anybody who gets in my car has eventually heard that I have the Rainbow Connection in my playlist. The song that Kermit sings at the beginning of the song of the movie, and then at the end. So I absolutely am a big fan of the Muppets. Huge fan of the Muppets.
Yeah. So I too have seen the Muppets Haunted Mansion. It was kind of random. I was kind of surprised they didn't hold off on releasing that until around the time this new Haunted Mansion movie came out. It's kind of weird that it was back then instead of now.
True, 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 true.
This movie focuses on, well, there are a few different characters. We got Rosario Dawson as Gabby, mother who moves into the mansion with her son Travis. And we've got like some other big actors like Dino DeVito, or I'm sorry, Danny DeVito as a
Dino DeVito.
yeah, from Dino Hatton in the Dino universe. But yeah, he plays a historian named Bruce. Owen Wilson plays a sort of priest named Kent. You have Tiffany Haddish as a psychic named Harriet. Lakeith Stanfield as Ben, who's like a paranormal tour guide. Jamie Lee Curtis, that's a big heavy hitter, as Madame Leota. And for whatever reason, they had got Jared Leto as the Hatbox Ghost. So, yeah, what do you think of?
Whatever reason, you mean he owns crazy characters now? He has decided he will strictly play crazy characters from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, he himself is kind of big yikes, so I guess it kind of fits, but it's just, yeah.
Listen, listen, we're not gonna get into it, but his
Right, yeah.
island, he has his own island of things that we shall not discuss on the podcast. The dude is absolutely crazy, absolutely
Right.
bonkers.
And so, like, what do you think of how they open with like Rosario Dawson and her whole predicament and how why she has to move in?
So I thought it was absolutely interesting that they really centered on a very particular modern problem. And that problem was there wasn't enough Slurpee juice in her neighborhood. I
Yeah.
thought that was a very modern conundrum. I know for a fact that if here where I live, they ran out of blue colored icy, I would also move. So I thought it was very fascinating to me that the conundrum is that they live on a syrup farm and the syrup has run out of their farm and they can no longer produce, and thus they must move away to where the syrup rains like honey. I thought that was absolutely fascinating, riveting.
Yeah, like they could have very easily made it um like it would have been too easy for them to make it a problem where it's like, oh, we're getting evicted or we can't afford to live in this place or we inherited this other place, but no, they got creative and were like, oh, there's no more material for icy here. Let's move with all the money we've saved up into this mansion that is near more of that stuff and we'll be more happy there.
And think about it, Stephen. That is Disney magic right there.
Yeah.
In no world would I actually believe that happens. But the moment you slap a Disney property with this crazy situation, I'm like, of course, somewhere in the universe, this is occurring and this has happened. And I am here for Disney magic and their weird Slurpee juice storyline.
Yeah. Man, remember like around the time the first Shrek movie came out and there were like green ices or whatever?
Listen, don't ever come for the green icy because that is my favorite flavor of icy. Absolutely. Green apple icy ice cream and Slurpee dominant flavors. No one could tell me anything else. Yeah, and if people come at me with the Mountain Dew flavor, they can see the door. They can go see the door, my friend.
Oh, dang. I guess I would have to see the door. Just eject me from the podcast.
That's right. This is my podcast now.
Right. Good luck. Um, so they arrive at the mansion, and then Danny DeVito plays the stereotypical old geezer with the warning because he knows a history of this place. And he's like, "Do not
right.
move into this haunted mansion," and Rosario Dawson like doesn't really pay much attention to him because he looks crazy. So it's like, why would she listen to him?
His name is also Dino, so like I wouldn't respect him either. I wouldn't respect him either if he told me to not move into this luxurious mansion.
So they live in this mansion for a bit. Like they have a nice montage where they're having good times. The mom and the son are playing some board games. They look oddly happy playing Monopoly, which doesn't look very realistic to me. But
also kind of foreshadowing, right? Like the way they play Monopoly inside a mansion that they are also gambling their lives within.
Yeah.
Oddly metaphorical.
Yeah, and one of them lands on the jail space and does have the get out of jail free card. So it's like the mansion itself is like a prison once stuff goes down later on.
Right, Steven. That's right.
Yeah. So stuff like eerie occurrences. See how I used an adjective there as if I used a thesaurus? Oh wait, occurrences is a
there
noun.
you go.
Never
there
mind.
you go.
But yeah, eerie occurrences occur, and we see some obscure specter sort of floating around in the hallway, and the son, he gets out of his room and tries to investigate it. Now, what was your reaction when you saw this ghost, like what they did within the scene here?
Listen, I'm gonna have to take a step back and talk about the ghost as a whole. I'm sorry, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
As I said, I am a haunted mansion expert. If I could have gotten my master's degree,
You're like Danny DeVito in this movie.
I am the Dino DeVito of this movie. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you something. I absolutely hated the fact that Top Hat is the villain of this film. I have beef, and my beef is with him because the real villain should have been Constance Hathaway, the owner of the owner of Haunted Mansion. The owner. Do you know why, Steven, it's called the Haunted Mansion? Do you know why?
Because it's a mansion that is haunted.
Wrong! Good, wrong. So when you go to the park, there are big bold letters that say HM. And in our simple minds, we're like, haunted mansion. Wrong! Wrong! The H doesn't stand for haunted, it stands for High Tower because it was owned by George High Tower. Steven, I'm about to take you down a deep dive. We're about to derail for just a second. All right. So
No, yeah,
Constance
go for it.
Hathaway, we all know perfectly, is the owner of it. And what occurs? Okay, so Constance Hathaway is poor. All right, she's this poor, beautiful woman, and this guy named what's his name? Ambrose Harper. Ambrose Harper sees her. He's like, "Ooh, I fancy her." They marry, and what does Constance Hathaway do once she gets his money? She murders him with what? Her last name is Hatchaway. What do you think she murders him with?
Hatchet.
Correct, Stephen. She plays by the book, Stephen. She plays by the book. So she murders Ambrose with a hatch. She does this 3 more times until she marries a man named George Hightower. Now, Stephen, do you know what Mr. Hightower's family also owns in the Disney universe?
The Tower of Terror.
Yes, Stephen. Yes, they are the owners of the Tower of Terror. But that's his brother,. Name is So if this is George, his brother's name was Harrison. Harrison. His name was Harrison. So, but back to George. So George and Constance marry, but he wants to retire, and they're LA people apparently, according to the lore. They're LA people, and they want to move away and they retire to what? A mansion in New Orleans. Okay, so they buy the house. She wants the money. She murders him. She is now cursed to forever live in the halls of the haunted mansion. There are how many ghosts, Stephen? How many ghosts live in the haunted mansion?
13.
So good. Yes, 13 spirits, which are us. But in actuality of the lore, it's 999. But for this case, there are 13 spirits. There are 13 spirits, Stephen, and she has to live with them all in this place. And so, sidebar, the younger brother of George Hightower is Mr. Harrison Hightower, the owner of the Hollywood Tower Hotel, but not the one from the Anaheim Disneyland, but from Tokyo Disney, because they have a different Hollywood Tower or Hollywood Tower Hotel. They are the owners. And what does he do? Do you know what he does, Stephen? He does the Jungle Cruise. He is the one that pays for the Jungle Cruise. And from the Jungle Cruise, he steals an item, which then creates the Haunted Tower in Tokyo. And this has been my lore drop, Stephen, of Haunted Mansion lore. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You can fact check all those things. I promise you, I am right.
Yeah, I'll even cheering sound effect and include it in that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have made sure everybody is now educated in Haunted Mansion lore.
Yeah, and they even like make references to like the Tower of Terror movie and the Jungle Cruise movie because they're building a Disney Parks cinematic universe, at least here in the delayed replay universe. I don't know if like over in that other universe they're doing that, but yeah, it kind of feels like they had this movie ready, but we're waiting until like this year because it's the 100th anniversary of Disney, apparently. So they're like, oh, let's save it for 2023 to build up hype, even though it's like 3 years after we put out the Jungle Cruise movie.
It is a wild ride. When I saw
I see what you did there.
Thank you. When I saw the idol from the Jungle Cruise movie sitting in the haunted mansions, what's it? The place where you put a bunch of decorations into, it's a glass thing. Whatever that glass thing is called, where you put items within. When I saw that in there, I was like, this is the greatest cinematic universe that has ever existed. Step aside, Marvel. Step aside, Spider-Verse. This is it. This is it right here.
Yeah, because in the Jungle Cruise movie over here, it sort of ended with a bombshell that, like, time and space is colliding or whatever. So when you see, like, the scene in this Haunted Mansion movie where there's that flood in the house, like that's from an ocean in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. It's like, whoa.
I I thought I missed the chapter. I was like, because the audience was clapping, like they do when a bombshell feature gets shown. And I was like, why is everyone clapping at the water? I'm so
Yeah.
confused.
No, yeah,
I see
because
now.
it looks exactly like like you have to be a water nerd in order to recognize that the special effects people made it look exactly like the Pirates of the Caribbean water. So I don't blame you
I
that
am
you didn't
not
catch
a
it. So
hydro homie, so I definitely didn't catch that. I definitely didn't catch that.
yeah, but it was so cool. But yeah, there's like a lot of stuff happening in this mansion. Like you got the flood, and there's also, they also mention because they get Owen Wilson and the sidekick to try and help them, and they're trying to, I guess, do a seance in order to figure out what's going on. What'd you think of how that went down?
So I thought, well, I don't know the way I say it, dude. Seance. I thought the seance went wild. I thought it was an excellent time for a plug-in where they plugged in the new Disney tarot cards that they're selling. And I thought it was real interesting that she used these Disney branded tarot cards to lay out his fate. And then his fate was, if I remember correctly, it was the tower, an upside down hermit, and a upside down death, which I thought was an fascinating, fascinating reading. If you know anything about tarot, that says a lot about Owen Wilson. So I thought it was absolutely interesting.
Yeah, and this isn't his first time in a haunted house type of movie. Like he was in that 1999 movie The Haunting, which the effects for that haven't aged very well, but it was something. And
Tell you that.
but they really tie it back to that Disney Plus special because later on they realize, oh, Hermit, we actually meant Kermit, and then like Kermit the Frog shows up in the movie.
And then that's when I realized I paid too much for my ticket. That was the moment it occurred to me. Was this really a $30 movie? Was this really a $30 movie I came to come
Yeah.
see?
Yeah, the tickets for this one were like, it's bizarre how pricey they were.
I don't know what the concept was, but according to rumors I read, it was because there's limited seating because they expected the demand to be so high for this film that it was kind of like reserved, like you play trading cards at all, Steven? Like this was kind of like the Black Lotus of this. This was the Blue Eyes. This was the Mewtwo card of the Disney Cinematic
Oh, the
Universe.
Mewtwo card.
So,
Okay, I understand that. Yeah.
that one, I got you. I
Yeah.
named three different card game universes to get you to get here.
No, yeah, you gambled, but somewhere in there
I found you. I
yeah,
found
you
you.
found me.
I
Uh,
I I found you, much like how Jared Leto found them doing a séance.
yeah, and it was like very freaky when he showed up as hat uh the Hatbox Ghost.
That's right. That's right. The Hatbox Ghost, aka the ugliest cinematic villain I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely high up there. Yeah, and this movie was rated PG-13 and they released it like the same weekend as Scream 6. So I guess the reasoning there was, oh, Scream 6 is rated R, so the younger crowd won't be watching it whereas they'll be watching this. And
That's right. That's
there
right.
were moments here that scared me, and seeing Jared Leto was one of them, admittedly.
Him and his charcuterie of choices is the most fascinating thing an actor could ever do. I will never understand that man's range, but it ranges from downright crazy to absolutely psychotic. And this man was somewhere in between the two of them for this performance. Absolutely. I don't know what he did, but he definitely did some like necromancy summoning to get into this role. I don't know what Jared Leto's on. I don't know what this man does, but this man's got some dark energies around him in this film. Absolutely not passing the vibe check. This man was not slaying. This man left crumbs. This man, terrible, terrible.
Yeah, and speaking of crumbs, Earlier in the movie, there was a bit of foreshadowing when the Travis, Gabby's son, doesn't completely finish his dinner. So he's
Mm.
like, I'm feeling full. And she's like, well, you better finish it. And, they spend a couple minutes trying to get him to finish the food until ultimately she gives up and he puts the leftovers in a Tupperware in the fridge. But now, at this moment, the leftovers come alive. So it's like, oh, dang, you should have finished the food earlier. Now these leftovers are attacking you. You got like all these bagels, all the spaghetti, all this mayonnaise that's just attacking everyone. It's just so spooky.
I definitely gagged at the mayonnaise being on screen.
Yeah.
Um, but that is true. This was classic Disney pandering. Disney was telling parents to make sure to tell their kids to eat their food to the last crumb. And you know what? I'm not a part of this team. I'm not a part of the finish to your last round. I like to leave a little bit of dirtiness on my dish to make it look like I reserved a little bit myself. I reserve the right to leave some crumbs to make it look like I wasn't that hungry. I reserve the right, Steven. I reserve it.
See, I'm kind of the opposite. Like when when there's like some food left over that absolutely no one will eat, like even later, then it kind of feels like a waste of food. So it's like if you're saving it for later, you gotta at least eat it while it's good, like later. So that's kind of where I stand on that.
I am team never take food home from a restaurant. um, you will never ever catch me asking for a box. And you might be like, why? And I'll tell you why, Stephen. Thank you for asking. The reason is because I never end up reheating it. I wound up just bringing it home and then I eat everything else I have at home except for that. So I'm terrible. Anytime I bring something home, it stays in my fridge for like a week and I wound up throwing it away.
God,
So
you're just like my roommate.
is your roommate just like that?
Yeah, sometimes.
Your roommate and I have a lot more in common then. But listen, Steven, I have to be honest about something though. The way you drank that Starbucks right now while I was giving that speech made me want some Starbucks. And that reminded me of when I was watching when I was watching Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
No, drop the. When I was watching Haunted Mansion, it gripped my soul, Stephen. It gripped me because I was like, man, this ride, this experience, this movie is doing two things to me. It's doing two things to me. Number one, it's making me wish I was at Disneyland to go ride the ride. Yeah. Number two, because there was a lot of visual shots that were taken straight from the ride, and it was incredible.
It's like igniting those memories and make you want to go back.
That's right. With my scatter mind, I was all over the place. And the second thing it did was, wow, I really want a coffee from Starbucks because I was bored out of my mind at certain points of the movie, and I was like, I am falling asleep and I need a coffee. So this movie does the two extremes really well. It's kind of like an indoor-outdoor situation, right?
Right.
Like at certain points, you're like, wow, incredible. Disney has never peaked so high. The Lion King wishes, And other times I'm like, wow, y'all got destroyed by The Little Mermaid. Y'all got destroyed by Jungle Cruise. This movie sucks. So, like it has this variety on both horizons,
Yeah, definitely. And there are moments when Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Madame Leota, almost curses, but because it's PG-13, they have to like censor some of it. So they make all these like really creative, or air quotes, creative noises to censor that.
The classic Disney, I'm about to swear, smash cut to something else happening, magic was on point for this movie. On point. Because Jamie Lee Curtis, you're right, was absolutely about to drop F-bombs and everything else in between throughout the movie, and they constantly had to cut away to some magical situation. And I'm going back to the very beginning of this all, Stephen. Disney magic. No other movie can do that to me. No other movie lets me accept it as much as this Disney magic experience from Haunted Mansion
Yeah,
2023.
you're just waiting for that paycheck from Disney to clear, right?
Listen. I'm holding my reservations and hope that they sponsor this episode.
Yeah, if only. But yeah, like there's so many scary things going on to the point where Madame Leota even says this is because this takes place on a Friday. This moment, she's like, "This is such a freaky Friday," and it's like, "Damn it, Disney, you gotta reference that movie." Like,
Your own properties. Why not Friday the 13th? Why Freaky Friday?
yeah, we should also mention that we're recording this on June 6th, 2023. So you got like the 6/6
Oh,
and 23. Like I remember seeing the trailer for some movie called The Number 23, and it was so stupid the way that they narrate it. It's like a 2 divided by 3 it equals 666. It's so dumb. But yeah, I remember back on
unholy episode.
what was that?
This is an unholy episode.
Yeah, throwback to June 2006, when one of my classmates in 5th grade was like, "It's 666, we're all gonna die."
True. And that is when the Antichrist descended from heaven and smacked us all. I don't know. Something
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, that happened in this universe. It
In
was
this
very
universe.
brief and not very climactic. It
Also,
was just, yeah.
in this universe, the 2012 movie is not a movie; it's a documentary.
Right.
Crazy times we.
Yeah, like there were huge earthquakes, not quite as huge as you might think, but yeah.
But New York did flood. New York did flood. Every
Yeah.
shot we've ever seen of New York since then has been on CGI green screen.
Yeah, much like the flood in the mansion in this movie.
True.
Um,
True. Was it the last third of the movie? Yes. True.
yeah, so they finally decide to leave the mansion because for a while they're trying to stick around and see if they can stick it out because they're like, "Oh, but the deal to live here is so good, like the price and like why would we leave?" But then after all the stuff that's going on, they're like, "You know what? No, we need to leave."
Listen, in this housing market, I'd also fight it to the last tooth and nail to be like, but it's so cheap. It's so cheap and it's so large. No.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the mansion is surrounded by woods, so you get like all these trees trying to like, they come to life and try hitting them and whatnot. They smash the cars so they can't drive away very easily.
Right.
And
that's when they recreate the famous chariot scene from the first movie. The first movie. Do you remember that? Or were you confused when your audience was clapping at your theater? Because
it had been a while since I saw the first movie. Like I've probably seen it like maybe 2 or 3 times. The most recent time I saw it was October 2021, and I remember liking that one as a kid. But then on that watch, I was like, you know what, this is not good.
Well, in that movie, there's a very famous scene, Oscar-winning scene, where a chariot busts out of the side of the mansion because they can't escape the mansion, and that chariot comes crashing through the mansion with ghost horses, and they're carrying the family away. And in this movie, we had a very similar shot where they scurry away in a chariot ran by ghost horses. And I was like, wow, throwback, which is a reference to what, Steven? I'll answer it for you. It's a reference to the chariot outside of the ride at Disneyland here in Anaheim, where there's a ghost horse there, but you can't see it, obviously, because we're not dead. But there's a ghost horse there, and it's also a chariot.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of lore right there.
Listen, I'm telling you, I got the references. I got the lore drops. I can also tell you about how there's a tombstone that says, "Here rests Waffle R. Bender. He rode to glory on a fender."
Nice. Yeah, and earlier in the movie, one of the characters is like, "You gotta be careful, there are some bears in the country." So during this chariot scene, they're chased by some monstrous bears, and they're like country bears. So, reference to country bears. And you could tell that Disney had the foresight that, oh, Cocaine Bear, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey are gonna be a thing, so we gotta have our own like monstrous bears in this.
Steven, you were not prepared for this Disney Cinematic Universe discussion. You should have read my 10-page doc on these things.
Oh no, yeah,
Steven.
that's what your master's thesis was about in this universe.
My master's thesis was in fact on that. But jokes aside, I did write a 25-page paper on how Disney is a religion and Disneyland is a holy site. That all jokes aside.
Yeah, so that's what your religious studies was all about.
That's right. That's right. I am a big advocate for Disney religion.
But yeah, congrats again on that whole like masters thing recently on Dress.
Thank you. Master of Disney and religion.
Yeah, you're on a master quest like on Pokemon, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
That was such a weird title for that season after like it was still in the Johto region and the previous 2 seasons had Johto in the title, but this one was like, no, it didn't have Johto in the title, just Master Quest.
Pokemon cannot be bound and held by any of your thoughts, Steven. They do whatever they want to do, and that's why they're the best around.
Even better than Disney?
I did not say that on record. I did not say that.
Okay, I see. I can read between the lines.
Okay. There are no lines to be read.
But yeah, they're trying to evade these bears, and they're like, oh, what are we gonna do? And then it turns out that the kid has on his phone, he has like a digital album of the actual country bears with like their music, and so he starts playing it, and these monstrous bears start dancing to it rather than attacking.
That's right. And then famously, Disney thought it'd be so smart to date themselves by doing a trendy TikTok dance that will surely age wonderfully. surely by being trendy, they have not foregone the standard of time, and they will forever live on because this dance will forever be known as the trendiest dance around. Of course.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly can't wait for TikTok to stop being a thing someday.
Listen, I wish so, but then I came to realize Instagram has a TikTok thing. YouTube has a TikTok thing.
Yeah, they call it Shorts.
Shorts. That's right. Facebook also has Shorts and Reels, as they call them on Instagram. Everything has one, and even Twitter now lets you, if you're watching any video, if you scroll up, there's another video now too on Twitter that has nothing to do with the tweet you're looking at.
Right.
So now everything has sucked me in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm kind of weird in that I would rather watch like a 10-minute vid than sit through like a 30-second vid of just whatever.
But that's how they get you, Steven. That's how they, just like the Haunted Mansion gets you. They get you in with just a small little tidbit, and then 2.5 hours later, you're wondering why you paid $40 for your ticket.
You paid 40? Where'd the extra 10 come from?
The extra 10 came from the interest fee they charge you at the exit. Did you not? What kind of theater did I go to? Did you not get charged at the exit too?
Well, I must have like evaded the person. Like they reached out and I was like, whoa, I don't know you, and I just dodged them, and they're like, whatever, go ahead. So I guess they were lazy about their job. But
they charged me $10 on the way out.
Oh, but I did pay an extra $30 for the food at this theater I went to.
That is true. I am not including popcorn, soda, candy expense fees on top of my pizza, nachos, hot dog. Which does also not include my icy fee.
No, yeah, I just got the hot dog and Mountain Dew. Oh, actually, it was 50 total because I also got like the Pizza Hut giant cookie thing.
Yes. Listen, Steven, I gotta know, off record, but on record because it's for the podcast. But
Yeah.
off record, uh, what are you the kind of guy who orders full meals at movie theaters?
Once in a while, it has to be.
You scum.
I have to be like starving. Like I have to have forgotten to eat breakfast and lunch or something.
I
So
I will share a story with you.
okay.
I went opening week to go watch Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. All right.
Right.
And a quarter of the way through, not even a quarter, I'd say like a fifth of the way through, they're in a really heavy plot moment in the story where it's really establishing stakes and character narrative. This server comes in and is serving food to the person in front of me, and they're just blocking me from watching the movie, Steven. They blocked. I couldn't watch the film, and I just stared at them, and I was like, are you serious right now? And I didn't even go to those like movie theaters where like they bring you fancy food and whatnot. I went to a Edwards theater. I went to a Regal movie theater, and they brought this man whatever it was, and they stood there and they were giving them, and they didn't even do the whole, oh, excuse me, I'm ducking lower so you don't see me that I'm blocking you. No, no, no. This waiter, waitress, theater worker just stood there in full-fledged pose and blocked the movie for me. Terrible.
Wow.
Terrible.
Yeah, that's very inconsiderate of them, Andres.
This is why if you order food at a movie theater, I think less of you, Steven.
Oh, so you mean like ordering during the screening is what you meant?
No, well, clearly they ordered it before they sat down, right? Clearly they ordered it before.
Yeah, I was thinking you meant like even just in general buying the food and getting it before the screening.
Oh, no, because I'm a popcorn guy. I order the
Okay.
largest bucket and refill it every time I go. But I have never, ever, ever ordered food from a movie theater.
Okay. But yeah, I actually have ordered food at like Look Cinemas and they bring it in during the trailers or the movie or something. So yeah, that has happened a couple or a few times.
So you have ruined someone's movie experience.
Probably, but I don't know. They probably deserved it. I like to think that just to make myself feel better.
Steven, you inconsiderate monster. You were like the top hat guy from Haunted Mansion.
Oh geez.
Terrible person.
Right. Well, that may be, but getting back to the movie. So you know the bears are dancing, so they're like, no, now's our chance. But then like as they're like so close to escaping, the Hatbox Ghost like tries to get them again. Now at this point it's feeling really repetitive to me, like the scares aren't working as well. So
They never worked. I'm stone cold.
So what'd you think of the way that they sort of wrapped this whole thing up?
I thought it was absolutely fascinating that the best way to get rid of this top hat madman Jared Leto monster psychopath from hell, the best way to get rid of it was through the power of love and family. Very reminiscent of It Chapter 2, if anyone has seen that, where they're like, and he's like, wow, my greatest defeat. You're not scared of me. Oh. So I thought it was very Disney-esque. I think I applaud Disney for all their work. They have the greatest writers I've ever seen.
I mean, I was face palming for like that solution, but also face palming for not expecting that they would go with something cheesy like that.
That's right. I was expecting a real ending, and they gave me a realer ending. They gave me the power of love. And with that, I was willing to pay those $10 when I was leaving the theater.
Right. Like there were moments where some of the scares felt like Del Toro-esque because he was involved for a time and it seems like they kept some of his ideas, but it just kind of gets bogged down by some of the, you know, the hands-on Disney feel of it that it got.
You can definitely feel the Del Toro-esque-ness of it all in just the general design of the mansion when we're within it. This fantastical horror realism that he's really good at. Yeah. You see it in elements of the design of the production, but you don't feel it because it's so over Disneyfied, where you're like, this feels like it was supposed to go in a different direction altogether.
Yeah, definitely. So they make it out, and the mansion sort of, it kind of implodes upon it. They don't really explain why.
I
Like
was
it,
gonna say it collapses upon itself, but implode is a much better word for what occurred.
yeah, and I don't know if this is supposed to be connected to like the thing that's going on across space and time that's connecting these Disney
True,
ride movies,
true.
or if it's just a haunted mansion occurrence. But
I was wondering why there was a little roar from a lion when it happened. I thought it was
yeah.
just a mouse. Maybe it's a Lion King reference
Yeah, maybe.
or Jungle Cruise.
Oh, yeah, could be. So, um, the mom and the kid, like, I don't even care about their names anymore.
I
They
never did.
they make it they make it back to the normal town,
Yeah.
and
Gabby
the
does return. See, now I care about the names. Gabby does return.
yeah. Yeah, like the sun has risen, so very cliche, like it's daytime now, so they're safe. And then a car pulls over, and it kind of shows like the shoes, like as they're walking, like
That's
camera
right. Yep.
pans up, and it's Eddie Murphy's character from
Yep.
The Haunted Mansion, and he's like, "All right, you gotta stay away from that haunted mansion. I had experience in the haunted mansion, so here's what you do." And then they cut him off, and are like, "We've already escaped," and it's like, "Oh, okay."
He's like, "Oh man, am I late?" And then that's how it ends.
Yeah. So I guess what a way to celebrate his movie's 20th anniversary.
I thought, honest to God, when I saw the shoes, I thought it was gonna be Nick Fury. I was like, is this about to turn into an Avengers moment? Are they being recruited for some reason? And no, it was
Right.
Eddie Murphy, which is just as good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool to see him, but I don't know, it kind of feels phoned in, doesn't it? Like it's
Always. Always. I'm a big I have run out of nostalgia baiting. I'm over
Yeah.
it. I'm like, please give me something original. Stop harping on things I've already seen.
No, yeah, a lot of the stuff that's been recapped on this podcast has had nostalgia bait, so it's like, please just end this now, please.
I have a very unpopular opinion. I recently watched Into the Spider-Verse. No spoilers here. And it's all nostalgia baiting.
Wait, Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse?
Across the Spider-Verse. Sorry, Across the Spider-Verse is the brand new one, and it's nothing but nostalgia baiting for like 3/4 of the movie.
No, yeah, I actually agree. I'm with you on that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought the whole movie was a giant nostalgia bait at times, and it felt like it really derailed the movie for me. I actually really didn't like Across the Spider-Verse for it because it was just so much of just look at this, look at that, look how cool this is. And I'm like, but Into the Spider-Verse is so beautiful, but it's just this beautiful tale, and it's original, and it stands on its own, and you don't need context about anything at all. And this one's like, did you know that this thing happened in this movie? And you're like, what? And
No,
like,
no, yeah. Yeah, Into the Spider-Verse, the first one is a more intimate and personal story that stands on its own. So that one is at the top. And so, yeah, I totally agree. Like, I didn't think it was a bad movie. Like, I still enjoyed it.
No, I agree.
But yeah, like, because of the nostalgia baiting, it just couldn't live up to Into the Spider-Verse.
Absolutely not, because this one requires context for you to enjoy versus the first one requires no context. It's a good movie for it. I believe any movie that doesn't require context for you to understand it and enjoy it is a good movie.
Yeah. Yeah, we need more standalone movies, but like the film industry, like the one, at least for the blockbusters, are just not listening about that.
No, absolutely not.
And a big piece of evidence pointing toward that is the post-credit scene, which shows pirate ship, and it shows like the year. I don't remember what year it said, but it's like a long time ago. And you see Margot Robbie, I guess the character she's playing in that Pirates spinoff, and
right.
She like looks up and she's like, "Drink up, me hearties, yo ho," and then it cuts to black.
Yep, yep. And I was like, why? What's going on? Ah. Yeah, yeah. It was crazy. It's been crazy.
Yeah. So I guess we can go into final thoughts, score out of 10, a unit of measurements for the
Okay.
score.
Score out of 10 as a Disney enthusiast, master of Disney and religion. I believe that this film was a solid Disney rating, solid 7. Film rating, solid 3. But overall, go watch it.
Okay,
I think
and
absolutely go watch it.
okay, when what's the unit of measurement for those numerical scores?
Right. So it goes from 1 to Space Mountain, all right? And so in terms of Disney, this was a solid Haunted Mansion 7. In terms of film, it's from 1 to Godfather. And this is a solid 3 Haunted Mansion. Do not go watch unless you really want to watch it.
Okay. No, but like what object that's like related to the movie would you use as like a measurement?
Oh, I would use the crest above. I don't know if you remember this. It's when all the hallways start twisting and turning upon themselves. I
Oh
would
yeah.
use the crest as my rating.
Okay. Yeah, for me the 2003 Haunted Mansion was like a 5 out of 10, like the most recent time I saw it. Um
Right.
the Muppets special was probably better, but I barely remember any of it to be honest. So I don't know like what I'd rate that one. This one I don't know if it's much better than the 2003 one, to be honest. So I think I'd give this new one, Haunted Mansion, 5.3 out of 10 dancing bears.
Dancing bears.
Yeah, like I just was not enthused by it. Like there were some scary moments, but then it became not scary enough. Even the music felt like
Absolutely.
it was trying to be too jump scary, and like
Yeah,
not in an
absolutely.
effective way. And so it was like, yeah, it's could have been way better. Maybe if they had kept Del Toro, it would have been amazing. But who knows?
True. 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 True.
Right. But yeah, I guess that'll do it. Thanks for being on again on Dress. Is there anything you'd like to plug?
Absolutely. I guess eventually I'll have to go back to my own podcast, right? So I guess just two lads, which I'll eventually start up again with Kelsey.
Oh,
I will
finally.
I will I know. Well, now that I've graduated, now I have much more time to go and record that. Um, I will plug my username on everything, which is Pojeki, Pojeki. Go give me a follow. I love just to exist in social media, and that's about it. That's about it.
All right, nice. Yeah, whenever I read or hear Pojeki, it always makes me think of Pazuki, I guess,
Oh,
because,
delicious. I
yeah,
love that connection. I will be grateful for that connection.
yeah, we split one at BJ's Steakhouse after that iRev show like
Oh, I
5 years
remember.
ago.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah, it was like so long ago, but it doesn't seem like that long ago. It's
No,
weird.
it really doesn't. The older I get, the more I'm like, that feels like that was just yesterday.
Yeah. But yeah, if Just Two Lads ever comes back, like I'll definitely listen.
Yeah.
You were there when I did the Instagram note that said hashtag renew Just Two
Oh,
Lads.
yeah. I laughed so hard when that happened because it was out of the blue. Nothing had happened. It was just you being like revived just to laugh. And that made me laugh so hard that day.
Nice. All right, and I'll include my plugs when I edit this episode, like I've been doing recently.
Sounds good.
All right, now for the plugs. StevenShinder.com, Facebook.com/StevenShinderStorytelling, Instagram.com/StevenShinder, Twitter.com/StevenShinder, or I guess it's at StevenShinder at those two places. You can email Delayed Replay via delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Send in your thoughts on Pizookies. You can also find me on Yesshift. It's a podcast slash vlog I do with my dad about the band Yes. And I've also mentioned my mom earlier in this episode, and just want to give her a shout out since this is coming out the day after her birthday. So, happy birthday, Mom, and thank you for taking me to all those movies as a kid and for everything else that you've done. Um, yeah, I think those are all the plugs and shout outs. So, back to the end of the show. Yeah, and without further delay, have a good day.